Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler with Dick Powell here from Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development. Today, I would like to take some time and talk to you about leadership with planning. You see, I believe that this planning situation we don't talk about near enough, and I don't think we talk about it, and I don't think we do it near enough. Because there's some basic things that happen with planning. One is they have to be continuously done all the time. And second is that they need to be shared with everyone within the process. And you see, I've worked with many different organizations and corporations that do what I call the 5-year plan. And when they do the 5-year plan, it sounds really good, and they even put a time and date on it, and they make it happen, and they think they can do it in 4 hours. It just doesn't happen that way, friends. You see, this thing of planning is an ongoing, continuous thing. So I'd like to take you through a thought process. It could be the way you're doing things now, or it could be a brand new way of thinking about it. But let's look at this. First of all, you need to really put on the calendar some dates and times to do the planning. Now, if you're a small organization, this is probably going to happen with just yourself and maybe one or two other people. But if you're a larger organization, it's going to happen with the top leadership. And the top leadership, as they're doing this planning and they put this date and time to do it, they need to realize that this is going to be an endeavor. And it's not going to be something that's going to happen all in one day. But as leaders, they need to do some things that are important before they get here. Before the date of the planning opportunity, they really need to get out and do some research. They need to get prepared and come ready to execute. Now, I say that because I continually work with organizations who believe they can do this all in one day, and the bigger organizations believe they can do it without speaking to the people within the organization. I don't think that works very well that way. So let's look at this. First of all, number one, plan a date and time. Now, I'm going to encourage you to plan a date and time to do your planning daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. You see, the yearly plan, it's going to be fluid. It's going to have some dates on it that aren't going to be movable. There's going to be some that might be movable depending on how we work the strategy. The difference is this ongoing continuous planning, both with personal and corporate, has to be in sync. And that's why this all becomes so important. Now, as we look at this plan, we've got the date and time, and we've maybe put 4 or 6 or even a whole day on it. That's a start, ladies and gentlemen, for that long-term plan. It's not going to happen quickly. And when the first time you do this, quite frankly, you're going to find that setting the daily plan, setting the weekly plan, setting the monthly plan, and setting a yearly plan is going to be an arduous task. In order to do that, though, you really need to know the vision. The vision, that's the big picture, the future picture. Now, I'm going to encourage you to do a couple things. One, make sure that you know what your vision is for yourself, your person, as well as your corporate. And that's because the two things have to go together. When I was a bit younger, I was taught that you had to only bring to work, and you never brought anything from home. And quite frankly, things don't work that way. What you bring from home goes to work, and what you bring from work goes home. Guarantee it. So knowing what this vision is, this future picture, becomes so important. Now, if you're doing a long range planning, more than 1 year, you're going to definitely have to know what that picture looks like. And it's going to have to be written down, and it's going to have to be in some words that you're going to be able to share with the rest of the leaders, and the leaders are going to be able to share with everyone out in the group, in the organization. That's why it's so important that when you're sitting down doing this, you have talked to some people, you've talked to the people out doing the work, you've talked to people within the organization, and you've gotten ready for this. You see, you've done the research and you've gotten prepared before you execute. And that's the only way you can come up with this. Now, the next piece of this, though, is the mission, and it goes right with the vision. You see, your mission is your calling or your purpose. And it's going to be very hard to plan if you don't know what that is, because that's the reason you're doing what you're doing. Even in an organization, you can't just write down our mission is to make money. That just won't fly, because it won't be a buy-in from the people. But the third step, or the third leg on the stool, so to speak, is the strategy. And that's where this planning becomes so important. You see, the strategy is the day-to-day things that we're going to be doing so that we can live our mission and achieve our vision. You see, whether it's personal, individual, or it's corporate, organizational, it still comes down to those three things. And the strategy, quite frankly, could change. But that strategy will be the milestones on the calendar. Now, here's things that don't change. Your vision and your mission will not change, but your strategy could change depending on a lot of different things. That's why planning is got to be a part of your everyday opportunity. Now, so I talk about doing the research of the situation and asking, where are you now? And that's a great question for leaders to go out and ask the people who are in the congregation, they're out in the organization. Where do you feel we are now? Do you feel we're moving ahead? Do you feel we're falling behind? Do you feel we don't have the right product? You ask them all those good questions, because the plan will depend on it. Now, I'm going to encourage you also, as you sit down and think about it, make a list of everything that you believe needs to be done to work the strategy, to live the mission, to achieve the vision. But every decision you're going to make on this plan, you're going to run through those two things, through the mission and the vision. You see, if they don't line up, that's not going to be something you're going to do in your day-to-day strategy. So making a list of all the things you believe need to be done is so important. Now, once that list has been accomplished, you're going to have to do the hard work that comes next, and that's prioritize. Really, what are the things we need to do first? What comes first? As we've prioritized, there's some things that need to happen. Once the prioritization happens, because that becomes your strategy, we need to make sure that those things are assigned milestones. And a milestone comes with a start and a completion date, by the way. And it also comes with who will be accountable to see that happens. And a little note about what needs to be accomplished within that milestone. That takes a calendar, doesn't it? And on that calendar, these are important pieces that need to be put in. I always encourage people when they're doing their planning that once the prioritization has happened and we start really looking at it, we look at the start and the completion date in a very important manner. We put the completion date on the calendar as well as the start date, because that's the way we can put the in-between dates of things that need to be accomplished on towards the completion date. Backdating calendars are such a fantastic tool that I don't think we use them near enough. All right. In order to be prepared, I think I've said this before, but in order to be prepared, you need to ask questions about leadership, about sales, about marketing, about revenue generation, about evaluating how we're doing, who, what, when, where, how. But a biggest one I want you to make sure that you're asking is about the people. You see, people make the organization. Without them, you have nothing. And without their input on this planning, I don't believe you can work a good strategy or have a good long-term plan. You see, when we don't involve those people, what we've done is we've set out a plan that we think is going to work, but we haven't included everyone. And because we haven't included them, getting them to do the buy-in will be a real tough chore. But when they feel they've had a part of it, when they feel they've had some input, the buy-in will be much easier on the leadership side. Now, leaders, I'm going to tell you quite frankly, one of the most important things that you're going to do with this plan is you're going to have a clear and concise communication, linking everyone in the organization about the who, what, where, when, and how the implementation is going to happen. Let everybody know. It's going to be so important to convey this in a way that it's now a group of organizational decisions and not just one or two people. Now, in a small organization, this is an entirely different thing. When you only have one or two people, an owner and maybe a person come alongside, and it's just you two. But still, communication is going to be your top key to seeing that the buy-in and the actual things happen. Now, if my wife was here, she would always want me to include plan for stuff. It was funny when she was running the large Cub Scout day camp, she always said she had plans, all the way through Z in case it rained, in case it was, storm, in case that she had all these plans. And that's because in your planning process, you need to look for foreseeable problems, things that could pop up, things that just might happen. And as you do the plan, it's a great time to start talking through those so you can have some plan B's and C's and D's or whatever. Just start looking at those because, again, I'm saying to you that the vision and the mission should not change. But that strategy, those things can change. Now, I want to encourage also that when you're looking at this planning from a leadership side of it, you're going to do your best to schedule everything according to the strategy. You like it? Okay. And pass it through the mission and the vision to make sure it lines up, but scheduling everything on a calendar. And I'm going to encourage you, no matter how large your organization is that calendar is maintained in one place. Now, it's going to be a calendar that anyone can look at. It's going to be one that anyone can, look at and say, oh, maybe I need to change something. But if they do, they're only going to go through one person. And when one person takes care of the calendar, That might be their only job in a large organization because it's going to be fluid and it's going to be moving. There's going to be lots of moving parts to it. In a small organization, not so much. But we've seen churches where there's been 4 or 5 people in charge of the calendar, and it really gets messed up pretty darn quick. That's why I'm going to encourage you that it's maintained in one place, open to everyone, but maintained in one place and by one person. I know that might sound a little harsh, but I'm going to tell you what it works. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you is that every milestone must have an accountable budget. Oh man, I used to not like this part when I was a person within the organization, but as I grew in the organization, I found that was the most important part, other than who is accountable for the milestone. And when I would look at the large calendar and I would look at some tracking opportunities, I would oftentimes look at 2 things. One, I would maybe give you a phone call and say, hey, how are you doing? You told me great. I'd be fine with that. And I would say, how are you doing on your budget? You see, those 2 things need to work together. And when they do, when there's a budget and there's an accountable person for that budget, for that milestone, for this opportunity, everything starts to work in a nice, easy motion. But when no one knows where the money's going, you will have a problem. And when no one knows who's in charge of the money, you will have a problem. And when no one knows what they can spend to accomplish the task at the milestone, you will have a problem. That's why planning becomes so important here. And I don't say it lightly. I say it's a must. Leaders, I'm going to put a little wrap up on this, and I'm going to lay this down to you as this. Oversee, not overdo. You see, when you micromanage the leader, people, when you micromanage an opportunity, when you've assigned or someone's accepted a milestone to accomplish, you need to know that the plan is in place. Now the plan, the strategy on the plan could change again. Maybe even the person doing the milestone could change. But you see, you've already prioritized and you've gone down through this list and you've put some things on the calendar. And some people are in charge of those things. But as the leader, it's not your job to constantly be over their back and saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. You need to step away. It's on the calendar. Everyone knows what needs to be done. Everyone knows who's in charge. Everyone knows what the budget is. Everybody can see what's going on. So when you have your monthly planning meeting, now dailies and weeklies, I personally, quite frankly, when I was in charge of a large organization, I left that to the individuals and to the groups that were in charge of milestones. The monthly ones was just basically a quick overview, and it went something like this. Dick, how you doing on this? Doing good? You're within budget? Great, let's move on. That was where I stood. And as leadership goes, that's probably not a bad way to do it. Get involved when you need to. If they ask for help, find it for them. Make sure that they have the things to do with what they need to get things done. That's part of the leadership. But without the plan, I'm going to tell you what, you're going to be just going willy-nilly through the organization. And even small organizations, we have found so many times on small organizations, they say, we just can't We just can't, we don't know what's going to happen daily. We just can't even put a plan together on what's going to happen during the week. We just don't know. And I'd say, okay, let me look at your budget, because the budget will always refer back to the plan, just so you know. And your revenue generators always refer back to the plan. And the completion dates refer back to the plan. And you see how all these things happen. Now, I want to take you through a different scenario. I want to take you through this 1 year, 3 year, 5 year long distance planning, because I believe it's so important for small organizations as well as large organizations. If you're going to do a long distance plan, do two things. First of all, do the first year. Make it and get going. Then continually to do the research of where you think or where you believe or where you want the company to be, so that you can look at that big picture. You see, the big picture is more than we're going to make money. Okay? I really want to encourage you to look at the big picture as something, how you're helping humanity. What are you doing in the world? As a company, you see, I believe you have a responsibility to do so. So on that, if you're going to do a 3 and a 5 year plan, do a 1 year and start working it. Show the people in your organization that you are working the plan. And when you accomplish something, when you reach a milestone, make sure you communicate it. Let them know that you're also working on this multiple year plan. As you're working through the first year plan, you're going to take and see things that you need to do in year 2, and maybe things you need to plan for, equipment, or things you need to do in year 3. You could even see that in year 4 that you're going to need a bigger manufacturing building, so you could start planning for that. You could be looking at, gee, even in this warehouse that we're working in now, it's going to be large enough, but we believe that the air conditioners are going to need to be replaced. Those are all parts of the situation. And replacement calendars, quite frankly, is pretty darn important too on your multiple year plans. That's because things wear out, things break, things go bad, things need replaced, as well as companies grow. And so they might need more people, and they might need more people in certain places in the organization. You see how this multi-year plan starts to increase, and there's many parts and pieces to it. So I'm going to encourage you to bring someone in to help you with that, whether the coach or it's a consultant. The bigger the organization, the smarter it is to bring somebody else in without ties to your organization, that can see things and ask questions that you might not ask if you're in the middle of it. Now, I want to go over the steps just briefly again, because I believe if you can understand the steps to this daily planning, this weekly planning, this monthly planning, this yearly and multiple year planning, I believe that your company, your organization, and even your family will be a bigger success. And I'll tell you what, when everyone's part of the plan, everybody wins. I do think that's important. So let's take a look at this. First of all, get on the calendar a date and a time for planning. Both for your personal one on your daily planner. I have a daily planner. You can see it right behind me. It's on my desk all the time. And my daily planner is something that I consume every single day. But I do something. I prioritize it every single day. Think about it. Weekly, you betcha I have a weekly plan. I have a monthly plan. And we have a yearly plan here that's posted on the board back there. Now, I'm going to tell you what, a lot of those things don't change. Some things like birthdays don't change, and anniversaries don't change. And in organizations, I actually have their birthdays and their anniversaries and, things that are important. More so than back in the old days, the only thing that was on that big chart was vacation time. But boy, I tell you what, we put that up there pretty darn quick, all of us, because that's how important it is. All right, plan a date and time for planning, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Make sure that you're always looking at the vision, the big picture, the mission you're calling your purpose, your strategy, your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly plans. Make sure that your strategy lines up with your mission and your vision. Your daily things line up with living your mission and achieving your vision. Make sure that those things line up. Make sure that you're doing the research about where you're at now. How is the company, the organization doing right now? Are the things that we need to add? Are the things that we need to subtract? Are the things that we need to bring back? I mean, do the research and make sure you're doing the research with everyone. Go around and ask those good questions. You'll be surprised the people either in the pews or in your organization might have some opportunities that you need to know about. List everything down that needs to be completed. Make sure that you then prioritize them and then assign those milestones of the who, what, when, where, how, and make sure that there's someone who is accountable on each and every one of them. Make sure that you're preparing some good questions to go out and talk to people about, about the leadership, about the sales, marketing, revenue generators. Those are important. And evaluate how things are going, but make sure you're asking things about the people. Ask them what they think about each other, about the company, about the longevity. Ask those questions. I know they're hard, but that's a part of this. And leaders, make sure that you're always communicating in clear and concise language about the who, what, when, where, how, the implementation. Make sure that everyone knows what's going on. This shouldn't be a big surprise. Okay? Plan for stuff. Make sure that you're looking at foreseeable problems. Something that could come up that just you need to have something prepared and ready to go to overcome. Schedule everything. Schedule everything that you can on that calendar. Make sure that it's open and honest to everyone, but there's only one person in charge of it, please, and it's only kept in one place. With computers, it's so easy to take and pull up the calendar. But I'll tell you what, if there's more than one person maintaining it, you're going to have a problem. Make sure that everything has a budget. I just can't tell you enough about making sure that everything has a budget. It is so important that when we're here at the desk, I've got my new budget right here with me. It's amazing of where we're sitting on this situation. And last but not least, leaders, oversee, not overdo. It's great to evaluate. It's great to look at things and kind of see that we're moving in the right direction, and we're looking at the calendar and things are being completed on time, and because they're being completed on time, you can communicate to the entire world what's happening and make it all work. Wow. Well, until next time, I want to say thank you for signing on here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training Development. Now, if you have any comments about today's program, please let me know. Give me a call at 727-422-1833. Or send me an email, dick@leadershipwrangler.com, dick@leadershipwrangler.com. By golly, go and set your very own time with us on the website at www.leadershipwrangler.com. Or if your organization is ready to learn about leadership and ready to have someone come in and really help you out We can do a keynote type, or we can come in and do an actual instruction day. 727-422-1833. And remember, until next time, this is DW the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.